Making money is supposed to be hard because if it's hard to make it, then it should be hard to lose it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way for everyone.
Yeah.
My first interaction with money, I was
Yeah.
20, making $250,000 bob. And of course, I thought that, the bubble. I thought this is life.
Yeah, like this is what
is what is going to be the norm.
Yeah.
Hey, the Lord had a different plan for me, bro. Wealthy relationships don't struggle with incompatibility.
Yeah.
It's only poor ones. Should put out a t-shirt.
If you're wealthy, it's
the compatibility is almost zero.
It's cheating, it's whatever. But it's not incompatibility.
But if you're broke,
Incompatibility.
smell bad, leave. That's a vulnerable moment right there. A lot of men are doing this thing where we are not openly vulnerable to ourselves about what we're going through. So we try to run away from it. Men don't choose themselves often, especially when it comes to self-sacrifice. They are forced to do it. When you choose it, you own it. Even your failures are learning points. Social lives of entrepreneurs are very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have drama in this Nairobi. No one's gonna call me and be like, Tony, this is my baby. 7. I don't have drama because I just couldn't afford it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Financially Incorrect. I am your host, Barack. And I'm gonna start with a little story, stroke, a little start. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about, I had a conversation with Jules and I was asking her if she's been in the NCBA statistic, where you have 500,000 shillings or more sitting in your account. Now, if you have 500,000 or more sitting in your account, Jules also mentioned it. People say that banks don't even save their own money in the banks. So here's an option for you to be able to invest some of that money. You can get onto the FX trading platform, and the links are in the description box, and you can trade. And you can trade in currencies, you can trade in commodities, you can trade in many other things that they offer on their platform, and you can go and find out and see. If you don't know how to trade, you can take classes, again, offered by FX Pesa for free. These classes are offered physically at any of their locations in Nakuru, Kampala, Thika, or Eldoret. And if you want to learn virtually, again, they offer those classes. Links are in the description box. So basically what I'm trying to say is, yes, if you have some money that's sitting around that could be invested, FX Pesa is an option for you to be able to get into trading, and they'll teach you to be able to do it yourself. So you make sure, nobody cons you in the process. Today I have with me none other than Tonee Ndungu, who is a techpreneur, a founder, business owner, a dad, and a weirdo. Welcome to Financially Incorrect.
I've always wanted to hear that from someone.
Yeah.
Nice to be here, Barack. Well done. Episode 61.
Episode 61 now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody has come through.
Yeah. I think, a good amount of people. I think
have you made money from all these money conversations?
Have I made money?
Have you learned how to make the money?
I think what I've learned is that there's no shortcut to making money.
None.
And that at the end of the day, you can invest, all these investment plans, but if you do not increase your income streams, you don't increase your revenue streams, then it's still a bit of a trick. So I think just making money is hard,
Yeah.
And you just have to make money.
It's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
Making money is supposed to be hard because if it's hard to make it, then it should be hard to lose it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about the thing that we just talked about before we started.
Yes.
Dyslexia and ADHD. How did you find out that you're dyslexic?
When I was in primary school, I was a very smart kid. I was in St. Nicholas Primary School, as in my later years. And when I was finishing primary school, I was so good. I was like number 6 in Nairobi or some crazy thing like that.
Oh, really? Oh, you're one of those kids in the newspaper?
Yes.
Oh,
606 or something?
Out of
700.
700 those days.
Or 610, something like that. And I went to Mangu.
Okay.
Mangu is where the smart kids go. And then I met smart kids. And and what I realized when I got there was a difference in the way they learned, because they'd sit in class and they'd wake up and they'd leave class and they get it. And I'd be like, I have no idea what happened in the last 1 hour, 40 minutes. Like, what does this guy talk about? What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then I'd try and read the books, nothing. And from my first term in high school, I was like second, third, fourth last kid in the class. And the guys who are after me either never came to class or on weed the whole time. So it's not like they are competition. I was like, what is a smart kid? What happened?
Yeah.
And the first 3 years of high school were really hard because I was always just failing. And then
and what's failing in Mangu? Is it
like just failing, just failing.
Okay.
And it's not like my brain doesn't function. It's just I can't retain, and I never understood why I couldn't understand it. Like, what's wrong with my brain? Like, I'm reading as my best friend actually called Howard Kamau was my desk mate. He was number 3 in the class, 5 to 1.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the same amount of time. When he wakes up at 4, I wake up at 4. If he goes to class, I go to class. Like I was like, what is going on? What's my brain doing?
Yeah.
And it's only when I was in my third, even Form 3, and my dad was really stressed out about it. He'd come to school and, he was really involved in, and this is another thing I must mention, a good parent is really helpful. Because he was like, I know you're smart. Like, I'm convinced you're smart.
Yeah.
But what's happening?
Yeah.
Tupac was huge in the 90s, 95, 96. And so I'd get a mixtape and I'd put it in, we used to have a Volvo, and I put it in the Volvo and the music would play. And I listened to it twice, and the lyrics are stuck. And Dad was like, "If I played another cassette, would you remember this?" I don't even remember. This is maybe beyond your time.
Yeah.
There's a guy called Don Williams, like a country music singer.
Yeah.
You don't need
Beyond
to. Don't
that,
worry.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he'd put it in there, and he's like, "Can you remember this music? Because
Yeah.
it's not your music; it's my music." And I'd remember it, and he was like, "When you hear something, you always remember it, but when you read it, you don't. Let's try something." So we did this thing where he got a Sony Walkman and got me to read some books into the Sony Walkman cassette tape, TDK 180. Folks of Gen X know what I'm talking about. And when I listened back to it, I remembered everything that I spoke.
Yeah.
And so we went back to Form 1, like books.
Yeah.
And we did Form 1, Form 2, Form 3. And by the time I was finishing Form 4, I was an average student. And that's when I knew, I don't know what this condition is, but it is not, I'm not unique. It's not for me. There's something. And by the time I got into uni USIU, I had gone and, learning challenges, learning disabilities, dyslexia came up. And it turns out my eyes and my brain aren't very good friends.
Yeah.
And that's just where that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I've like I told you, I think I am.
Yeah.
I have an element of dyslexia going on, because there are times where I read things and I have to reread them, or when I write things, people are like, do you know
what you're saying?
Do you know what you've written? Like,
Where's the grammar, punctuation?
Yeah,
all
it was
of that
made
stuff.
fun of me.
Spelling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And I love the English language. It's always been a struggle. What about ADHD?
Yes, I also have attention deficit hyperactive disorder.
Yeah.
That's what ADHD stands for.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten to learn to manage it. But then one of the things that I recognize I've struggled with when it comes to ADHD is paying attention. And so if you can't read super well and then you can't pay attention super well,
Yeah.
you're in trouble, bro.
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
1-2 knockout.
Yeah.
So it's been very intentional for me. And even as we talk about money, you get to learn that one of the things I've recognized is I'm very, 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 very bad with money unless I study. And when I study, for me, the best way to study is to teach. Because I'm not teaching for you, though I care about y'all.
Yeah.
I'm teaching for me.
Yeah.
Because I recognize how difficult it is to manage money, especially for folks who are in an entrepreneurship space, because your baby is your business.
Yeah.
And if your business is not making money for you, it can affect you tremendously, right?
Yeah.
And then when your brain is built the way my brain is built, you can be very hard on yourself if
Yeah.
it doesn't do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And so I think those two statuses, I don't call them conditions.
Yeah, yeah.
Those two statuses make it
Yeah.
a little bit more different
Yeah.
and a little bit more difficult. But if there's anything it teaches you, is grit.
Yeah. I mean, I also have ADHD. I was diagnosed actually not too long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd always thought I had something. I guess I've learned under the term neurodivergence. I've always known that there was something. I didn't know exactly what it was,
That's
but
the
yeah.
word.
Maybe like 2-3 months ago. So when did a test?
2-3 months ago.
Yeah,
bro.
like very, very
That's
recent.
like yesterday.
Yeah, like very recent.
How have you managed
So,
your
yeah,
life?
exactly.
You know what I mean? Because
So-
there's a power in knowing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So my auntie, who's a psychiatrist, actually, I was talking to her about it, and she was telling me, the thing with kids who have when you have ADHD and you're a kid,
Yeah.
if you're intelligent,
Yeah.
you can get away with it.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
you're smart enough to grasp concepts. So because usually when manifesting kids where people start being like, what's the problem here? Is that the kid isn't paying attention at all.
At all.
So like he's flunking, everything is not working. So you're like, okay, this guy's not paying attention.
Yeah.
But if you're intelligent enough, so you pay enough attention to be able to pass, so you can make it through them, and find a way of working.
Yeah.
So when we're trying to figure out, I guess, how my breakdown came about was, I guess, just a hyper-stressed season where now, I guess, this house of cards that I'd built working around the ADHD crumbled
It
and came
collapses,
down. And then I
yeah.
was like, okay.
And that stuff is very dangerous.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think what people don't appreciate is when you have ADHD, the emotional collapse that you go through
Yeah.
is almost 10 times worse
Yeah.
than an average person. So if the same thing happens to two people,
Yeah.
the exact same thing,
Yeah.
an ADHD brain collapses completely.
Yeah.
Whereas a normal brain, it creates its own way of managing and coping.
Yeah.
And so mental health challenges really affect neurodivergent people.
It's crazy
Yeah,
because
it's insane.
so after I get I guess diagnosed, and so I see a psychiatrist, and he's like, okay, yeah, get on these meds. Let's see what
They
happens.
gave you meds.
So they gave me meds.
Solid, bro.
So I
Wild.
get meds on a Friday, and
Right.
he's like, take them in the morning. Don't
Yeah.
take them at night
night.
because they'll keep you wired. So I was like, okay. So I the next morning I wake up like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. I take the meds,
Right.
and they kick in within maybe 20, 30 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm sitting on the couch, and the only way I can describe this is what I told my wife. It's like I had silence in my head for the first time
Ever.
ever.
Yeah.
Where I was having a conversation with my wife, and I wasn't thinking about anything else. It was purely just that conversation. And then I was explaining to her, and trying to tell her, usually in my mind,
Yeah.
there's like 5 or 6 things going on
At the same
always,
time.
Always. Anyway,
This is why I don't
Yeah.
take the medication.
yeah,
Because something like that is so powerful
yeah,
that I will take it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which essentially makes me an addict.
yeah,
And the problem with being an addict to medication like that is it's not natural.
yes, yeah.
So your brain stops compensating for the thing it
Figure-
doesn't have.
Exactly.
And then now you rely on the medication.
Yeah.
And the thing about medication is because it's a consistent dose, you need to keep taking more and more of it as you get older.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do
You
that.
don't want to go down path. Yeah.
So a lot of the time when I get into a place where, because my mind's always like that.
Yeah.
It's I am talking to you, but I'm doing 4 other things.
Yes.
And the thing I've always told people that I'm in a relationship with, or people that work with me or whatever, I'm fantastic at multitasking because I literally have never known any other way. This
to
is
go
what
about it.
happens, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
listening to you. I'm listening to the TV.
Yeah.
I remember the text that I just got on my phone, and I'm giving a response to that in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And then I know at 4:00 we need to go for dinner. Like
Yeah.
I'm very clear about all those things at the same time.
Yeah.
But when you get tired, you get completely.
Yeah, it wipes you out completely.
Like
yeah.
there's nothing left. So that's the story of my life as an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, I guess we might have another podcast altogether to talk about ADHD. There's a whole thing to discuss
a
there. But anyway,
thing.
that's for another day. But
Yeah.
anyway, I guess you've already given us like a little bit of your background growing up.
Right, right.
So it seemed like you had a really, really involved father.
Yeah,
What did he also directly teach you about money?
No, he's never taught me about money at all.
Yeah.
And that's one of the other things that I got to learn, that he didn't know anything about it. He
Yeah.
didn't know at all. In fact, when he tells us his stories, he stumbled into his success. Literally, he woke up one day and he was like, oh, wait, look, I have a house in Runda. This is nice. Apparently, this is a big thing. Like, he stumbled into it. And so when I asked him, and I've asked him a couple of times, and asked him, how did you do it? He says, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean? Like, you were there.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't do it with a plan. I was lucky.
Yeah.
In the 90s when Runda was coffee, and you go there and Kytabu was it was a dangerous place. You have to get out before 7:30 because you'd be found on the road and carjacked. It didn't make sense for him to be able to buy land there. In fact, he wanted to go to Rongai or whatever, and he had this 750,000 bob, and he had a wife who was very strong-willed and a grandmother, his grandmother, not so my great-grandmother was also very strong-willed. And my mom and my great-grandma were like, this is where you're buying land. And it's like, it's coffee. There's nothing. It's Karura Forest. We will get jacked. We will get
Yeah.
killed. We'll be found in the forest 6 months later. I'm not doing it. But they pressured him and pressured him and pressured him until he buckled. And he said, fine. Almost out of resentment, he's like,
Yeah.
we'll buy the land, then you will see. And, 4 years later,
Yeah.
the plot he got for 750,000 was 6.6 million.
Yeah.
And he built a house on it that was valued at $1.4 million. I think it was 1997 is when he finished building. In 2009, when he wanted to get a loan against it, was so valuable.
Yeah.
Remember the time the Somalis were not the Somalis as a country, but the Somali pirates
Yeah.
were jacking boats.
Yes.
They'd go and buy land in Runda, and they'd come with bags of cash. That's when he was like, "Wow, this could actually be a phenomenal investment." But he didn't want to get involved with that, so they kept the house. But what I'm saying is, he never taught me how to do that.
Yeah.
I've had to learn from scratch and fail a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of failure. Like
Yeah.
really, really, really fail.
Yeah.
To get to a place where I'm like, okay, now I think I know step 1 and step 2.
Okay.
They're like 20 steps, but at least I've got 2 covered.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've gotten, that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So-
dad, no.
So when do you first start interacting with money? Is it at pocket money stage? Is it at uni level? When do you start interacting with money?
When I was 20 in uni, I remember this very clearly. I was doing international relations and journalism as a double degree situation. I was at one of these student association council places in USIU, and this guy, Husto Casal, never forget his name, he came running, like he's crazy. And we were like 12 friends, and he's like, do you guys want to do an internship at UNHCR? I'm like, I'm sorry, repeat one more time. I didn't even know what UNHCR stood for, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. Yeah. And he said they're looking for interns to work in Dadaab and Kakuma for a year. Do you want to come? Husto's dad was a diplomat, and he had all these insights in the UN.
Right.
And so we all missed class and ran into this one van. Remember, we were 12.
Yeah.
One van that a friend of ours owned, drove to UN here in Westlands, actually where this building is located.
Yeah.
It's exactly where that place was.
Yeah.
Interviewed, and the next day got jobs, and 2 weeks after, we were in Dadaab refugee camp earning 250,000 shillings a month. This is 2000. The year 2000. My mom was a lecturer at USIU. She wasn't earning that much. That's my first interaction with money. I was 20, making $250,000 bob.
A month.
Wild. Like, I did not know what to do. And then you're in the UN, so you don't get taxed.
Yeah.
The amount of times we drove to coast.
Yeah.
We would hire vehicles
Yeah.
to drive our friends to Mombasa.
How do you have that? So do you go and tell your folks, hey, so I'm now working as an intern under the UN.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a year off.
Yeah. My mom was like, no.
Yeah.
No. She refused. She said, figure out your school, figure out your Dadaab situation.
Yeah.
If USIU allowed you to move, to defer, right?
Yeah.
So she's like, when are you going? This month, this month, this month. Okay, fine. You're going to join, but you're going to miss 1 month of school. And then, because what they do is you'd work there for 6 weeks and then come back for 2. Then work 6, because it's a refugee camp. It's tough.
Yeah.
We were younger, so we said, could we work for 8 and then come back for a month? That month allows us to go to school, because in a term of 3 months, if you miss 1 month, it's not so bad.
Yeah,
Especially if the school, you're an intern, you're an IR student.
Yeah.
USIU was very kind to us.
Yeah.
And so when we went and did that, and it was amazing, we did it. The school allowed us to do it. The first bank account I ever opened was with my dad's help.
Yeah.
The first check went to my parents. I didn't even know how much I'm paid.
So the first
I didn't have a bank account at 20. The first 250 came to my parents.
Yeah.
Dad was like, taxes. Took like 100 G's. My mom came and said, I've got things I need to do. 100 G's go. So I got 50K. But if you think about 50,000 bob, but even at 20, you're getting 50,000 bob now. That's decent money.
Yeah.
So when I got the 50 G's, and I'm like, in my head, I'm going to get another 50 G's in like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, this is wild. What the hell? This is insane. And of course, I thought that, the bubble, I thought this is life.
Yeah, like this is what
is going to be the norm.
Yeah.
Hey, the Lord had a different plan for me, bro. But that was my first interaction with cash.
So you earned that for a year.
Yeah.
And what do you do with that money? Okay, now you have your own bank account, it comes through.
Nothing. I can't tell you.
You can't tell you where that money went.
Nothing. I know that I paid a lot of my dad's loans.
Okay.
Like I paid his debt, which he's to this day, very grateful for.
Yeah.
And I also feel like he earned it because he was a good dad. Like he was involved, we did things together.
Yeah.
So I paid a lot of his debt.
Yeah.
Obviously, my mom got a lot of money just because she's my mom. Like, what do you want to do? Oh, here, take 25,000. Like, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And the trauma was when my contract ended.
Yeah.
And it really ended. Like, you know what I mean? It ended.
Yeah.
And I realized that I could have been 21 with a car.
Yes.
And I wasn't.
Because 250 over a year.
That's a lot.
4 months is a meal. That's 3 million.
It's a meal. Yes.
That's 3 million.
And when you're
time,
20, you're not buying a 7 million shilling car.
Yeah.
You just need like a Nissan Sunny or like a Toyota Sport or something.
Yeah.
A car that's like 750 Gs.
Yeah.
So with 2 months, 3 months of money, I'd be killing it.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And the reason for that, and let me tell you what the reason, and this is so clear to me, and I will always remember this. The reason for that is because you never think it will end.
Yes.
You think the contract will just be renewed. Because we did really good work. And I was the head of the tech team.
Yeah.
So I had a team of 8. I was the head of that team of 8. So I was earning more than the other guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I had by like 20 Gs. It doesn't matter, right? But I was like, UN, not so bad. I could do this for the rest of my life. Well, didn't work out that way.
So was it that the project, the project just ended?
We were so efficient.
Yeah.
It's actually a bummer. So the project was to relocate. So in the Somali community, there are folks called Somali Bantus. Somali Bantus look like you and I. They have a very, whether it's a Bantu look. So it's Kikuyu type, Luo type, Luya type.
Yeah.
Like they look like they could either be from Central or they could be from Western Kenya.
Okay.
They look like that. But if you look at just Somalis, they don't look like that at all. So during the Somali battles and the wars, they were really targeted. So our job was to go and create passports and documentation for all of them to be relocated to Canada, Sweden, I believe the US, some parts of Minnesota, like different places.
Yeah.
And they would come in droves, like 1,000 of them, 2,000 a day. We would create essentially passports.
Yeah.
That was the job, right?
Yeah.
And then create a family tree, stories, take pictures of everybody, grandparents, parents, kids, whatever. It typically took about 4 weeks to process a family. Like the family comes, you take the pictures, then the process.
A family typically of how many people?
7 or 8.
Okay.
Right? And you're doing thousands of people. So these are like 50 families a day.
Yeah.
So between that photograph to the paperwork to the names to the birth certificates, the location to the genealogy was wild. Income UNSIU students.
High achieving students.
Let me tell you, I used Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
And I had some interesting coding. I used some Adobe. It's the Adobe of diskettes. Be focused, bro. It wasn't even on CD. Diskettes. We put Adobe Premiere on diskettes. We batch process all those photographs. We automatically moved them from file to file. Added names to everyone. Added birth certificates. We moved what took 4 weeks into about a 4-day process.
A 4-day
process. 4-day process. We were supposed to do 14,000 people in the time we were there.
Yeah.
I think we did 112,000. Wow. Like they were like to the point, and I still have this photograph at home on print. Yeah. To the point where the international head of the UNHCR came to Dadaab.
He was like, "What's happening?"
She came to check. She's like, "You did what?" And so that's why I stayed longer, because the guys were there. The whole project was about 5 months long. Yeah. So after guys left 5 months, I was there for an extra 7 months. Yeah. To help write, let me say, an action document on how to replicate this in different parts of the world. Because if you remember, Lebanon was going through some stuff. There was stuff going on in Libya. There's a lot of stuff going on around the world. And so basically, I sold my intellectual property, which wasn't really mine. I just, we worked together as a group. But I basically gave UNHCR that. It wasn't a lot, but I gave them that whole process.
I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something. I mean,
but it saved them money.
Yeah, and it changes the scale of what they were doing.
And I'll always remember my boss, Andrew Hopkins. He reached out to me 6 years after, telling me he's retiring, and he wanted to say thank you. This is 2007, and I remember this so clearly because 2008, Obama happened, the crash, all of it. So he called me, and he lived in Canada, and he called me and he said, I've never really said thank you for what you did for us 6-7 years ago. I never understood the scope of it. But he said, for the last 6 years, I've been moving around country to country to country, implementing what you did.
Basically, that's been his job since.
Full stop. And I'm like, I didn't have good words to say. So I was like, that's an opportunity for me. Why did you bring me along? But life changed. Life happened.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, that's a really interesting story. Just for starters.
That was Tonee.
Okay. So you come back, you're now having the trauma of this contract being terminated. Oof. So how do you go back to that life? Because it seems like you were living a really...
Yeah, fast pace.
Yeah.
So life humbles you. Your parents are there laughing at you, saying you didn't save. And you're like, I gave you most of the money. And then I was like, I need a job. A job. So I went to work for Kiss FM. And this was 2003, 2004. And I was like, okay, what else do I have? I have a decent voice and I know how to do some radio stuff. So I went to Kiss and I was there for a year. I worked as an intern and I earned 4,000 shillings a month. Understand the trauma, because I was like, 250K to 4,000, Bob. I didn't, like, my folks had to supplement me to be able to go to
Of course.
Kiss. And I did that for a year. And I used to produce Caroline's show, Miner's show. The producer then was called John Hopkins, and I used to work with Shafi Weru and Lance Mambanga. And I was the intern of those three. And when you're an intern, these guys teach you, and they taught me very well. Like, Shafi and Lance were fantastic. And then John Hopkins was like, watching over the stuff I did. You get to the point where you raise up the ranks and you're able to do the radio show yourself. Yeah. And I did it, like Sheila Moniga, Jimmy Gadu. I did all those shows for a year. And I was up in the morning at 4 o'clock. I do the show. I get out at like 2:30. I go to school until 9, go home, sleep, and then 4 o'clock I'm back at Kiss. And that's where I really learned working acumen. That's where I learned dedication to work.
Yeah.
And how a small thing can impact so many people. A lot of these guys used to just come into the office, t-shirt, jeans, no plan, and then they're talking to 4 million people.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, radio is powerful.
Yeah.
But journalism was not my thing.
Yeah.
I was like, after that, I was like, okay, Sal, I've done the big money thing with the UN. I've done the small money thing with kids. Now I want to see what the world has to offer for me. And that was the last time I was employed.
That's the last time you're employed.
Yeah.
At Case when you're earning 4,000 shillings a
Case
month.
earning at 4,000 bob as an intern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens next?
Finished school, struggled to graduate because my dyslexia really kicked in as I got older.
Yeah.
And
So it was purely the academic, what do you call it? The way that our system is and the way that they
punished me.
evaluate
It
academics.
beats the life out of me. People like myself we don't get into a class with a 700-800 page book and come out successful.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
Yeah.
This is not how we are built. We're not built like that.
Yeah.
So I really struggled. I really did. And when I graduated, the level of resentment I had for my 2 degrees, because I didn't know where I wanted to go in life, was so profound. I told my mom, I'm going for the graduation, but I'm not going for the degrees. My mother has my degrees. I've never laid an eye on them. I got the transcripts. Because I've never, this is hard to explain to someone. I did my resume 3 weeks ago for the first time since uni. First time. Because these guys had hunted me to do something for them. And I was like, how do you even do resumes? Like, what do I put in it? It was 8 pages when I started. I had to bring it down to 3. And I was like, I am so grateful I didn't do this.
Yeah.
But the resentment I have for that space, that whole industry of, go to school, get a job, die. It just never worked for me.
Yeah.
Now it's changed quite a bit because there's spaces for creative folks like us to do what we do. Right? You're doing a podcast. This could be a full-time day job.
Yeah.
And you earn good money and your life is great.
Yeah.
There was nothing like that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing 10 years ago. It just wasn't. What is podcasting? See, there are radio stations. Why are you going to do this by yourself?
Yeah.
That was the energy with which I came with. So when I left uni, I never took my degrees. I told my mom I'm done. And I went to Thika. To live in a children's home.
To live in a children's
to
home.
help out a friend of mine called Manix in a children's home.
Right.
And I then had a Dutch girlfriend. And a friend of hers called Bart Lacroix came to Kenya and said to another guy who was living there called Manix, I'm looking for a Kenyan who can help me put together some tech thing that I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've got a Kenyan here who's not doing very much. Do you want to talk to him? And I remember coming back to Kenya. I mean, that's back to Kenya, just Thika. Coming back to Nairobi on the back of a pickup to meet this Bart guy.
Yeah.
And he and myself were the nexus. That meeting was the creation of the Nile Lab. Yeah. And it's a funny story. When Eric Husman, who started the iHub together with his team, were thinking about the same thing, Bart and I reached out to him because I was like, I know this guy's really smart. We should talk to him and find out about it. And he said, serendipitously, we're actually thinking about the same thing. Why don't we get a floor on the same building?
Yeah.
And that's how the Nile Lab and the Hub were started in the same place in 2009. You need to understand, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have code. Remember, I'm a journalist and international relations graduate.
Yeah.
I'm barely able to connect my Wi-Fi because there's no Wi-Fi. It was dial-up. Because, I didn't know what was happening in the world. What's TechCrunch? Silicon Valley. What is that? I was really green. But what I was willing to do was learn and work my ass off. Like those are the 2 things I knew I was going to do. And that's how the Nile Lab started, on these shoulders of a very inexperienced person.
Right. And at this point in time, how are you surviving?
So Bart and I had come up with a plan. We'll raise money, a little bit, and then we'll pay both my salary and his. He lived in the Netherlands, so a lot of things are taken care of by the government. And the euro then was very powerful in Kenya. So I'd be like, you pay me, how much money can you pay me from your stipend from the Netherlands, because you have unemployment compensation.
Yes.
So if you don't have a job, you get paid by the government. I was like, bro. So he'd pay me 1,000 euros, which is like 120 Gs.
Yeah.
And
which is part of his payment.
Which is part of his pay.
For unemployment.
Exactly. So, and remember, he still has to live and he has to pay rent and buy food. So he paid me 120,000. My firstborn baby had just been born. Never had a wedding because I couldn't afford it. And for the 2009, 2010, I was on 120,000 shillings as we were building the Nile Lab. And when I say building, literally mean we'd buy block boards, we'd buy wood, we'd buy chairs out of then Uchumi. I would wake up, go there, wipe the floor myself. I'd wipe the floor myself. I painted part of the room myself. Like I have a lot of these videos. I did a lot of these things believing that it was going to be something because I remembered that work ethic is if nothing else, work ethic is everything, right?
Okay.
And it was very hard for a black person to raise money in 2009, 2010.
I think it's still very hard now.
It's easier
Well,
by far.
easier.
Like, by far.
Easier,
Like, you
but it's
don't
still
understand.
hard.
Like, I'd walk into rooms
Yeah.
and Bart would hint to me to leave because they want to talk about money. He'd be like, why don't you go so they don't talk about it when you're here? That's how bad it was because they didn't trust us. Because if you remember, it's around the time when The Economist put out that Africa headline. What is that headline for Africa called? The Lost Continent. Do you remember the Economist?
I remember. I mean, that sounds familiar. The tagline
Yes.
sounds
There's
familiar.
a huge. If you ever go look for the most popular, most famous, I think, not popular, most famous Economist
Infamous
headline
one. It
was the Lost Continent.
Continent.
Imagine that. So of course there was no money coming our way.
So you'd be told like your
He would tell me,
and
like,
how
kindly, politely.
how would that make you feel?
Like trash. How is it supposed to make you feel?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one who's wiping the floors, building the tables, inviting people, going for events. I'm hosting events. Like, the only way I could bring people out was emceeing.
Yeah.
I was emceeing events. I remember I emceed the launch of the iHub. Because I wanted my face to be visible in the tech space. That's how, we didn't have money. We just
did your partner, did he feel some type of way about
Yeah,
it?
he felt every type of way. Like, he's a good chap. Like, Bart was an amazing chap.
Yeah.
He felt all types of ways. But it's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
It's not a personal issue.
Okay.
It's very systemic. And so when we closed the 5.5 million euros towards the end of 2011, I was mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted. It's the thinnest I've been since high school. Smallest. I was so unhealthy.
Yeah.
Hadn't seen my kid. Relationship was crumbling. I just didn't have it. Like, breathing was hard. And I was like, I'm done with this.
And at that point in time, how are you surviving on the 120? Where's the 120
Family.
going?
Like, it was just going home. Rent, food for my kids. My daughter was born with lactose intolerant. So we were getting goat milk. Goat milk, normal milk, half a liter of normal milk was like 50 bob. A liter of goat milk was 320. A liter. This is what she drinks daily. She doesn't eat much. And then because she was hypoallergenic, I had to get Nan, the hypoallergenic one. I had numbers for every Chandarana. Like, I had a person there. Everyone. So when a container comes, I go get it. A container was 1,800 or something like that. And I think it was more, 3,200, I think, actually. It was expensive.
Yeah.
And that's what she ate.
And so all your money is going there?
All my money is going there.
Okay.
And then also the resentment of an expectation that was never met because of that UN job had really battered.
Oh, because you're still not earning enough. You're still not
nowhere
making the
close,
UN money.
like, nowhere close. So I was really, like, I didn't know until actually very recently how angry I was at, I wouldn't say myself per se, but I had this rage, I had this internal anger with just how money operates.
Yeah.
I hated it. I really hated the fact that I was who I was and had done what I had done.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish I could change me into anyone else because it's not nice sitting where I was sitting. I hated it. I hated this position. Yeah.
Okay. So what changes once you close the 5 million euros?
I left.
You left?
Yes.
You didn't want to be like, okay, now my salary can...
Sam Gushoro tried to convince me to stay because he was one of the first people to come to Nile Lab and sit there. Just as a homie. Fantastic guy. And he tried to convince me, Tony, where are you going? Let's do it together. I'll be the front, you'll be the back. Or I'll be the back, you'll be the front. Like, he really tried to help me do this. I was like, Sam, I'm dead. Like, I'm a shell. So Sam negotiated me leaving because it was a very bad breakup between me and Bart and Anna. They couldn't understand.
Or they couldn't understand why you wanted to leave.
Where are you going?
Yeah. But so what makes it bad? Is it that he feels you're abandoning the mission?
I was abandoning the mission. I'd been the face of the organization for the last 3 years. I was also the token black guy.
Yes.
I'm well spoken. I was in a very bad place. Very bad place. So Sam Gishuru took over my parts.
Okay.
And he became the lead for the Nile Lab. And I just said goodbye.
Do you leave with money?
I did. Actually, I left with money, but I left with like not enough for me to be like freedom. I bought a car.
Yeah.
A Subaru. I'll never forget that. I became a Subaru boy. Bought a car.
Was it typical blue, yellow rims?
No.
Or just
it was just a white, loud, low Forester. And then we used to live in Kiserian. So I really liked Ngong Road because now the Ngong Road itself had been built nicely.
Yeah.
I tore that car up. And I think I was clinically depressed, like for sure. Because I think by the end of the year, I'd finished all the money that I had.
For context, tell us.
context,
Unless you are not allowed to tell us how much.
I'm
money
not
you
allowed to
left
tell
in.
you how much I got.
Oh, okay.
But literally, I'm not allowed to tell you.
Yeah.
But it wasn't much.
Yeah.
Like
It wasn't like not enough to be like,
exponential. It wasn't enough for me to say, I don't care if they sue me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how much it was. It wasn't that, you know what I mean? But then what I walked away with when I left was I really understood the value of giving value. Because I know when I left, a lot of things were not the same. Not just in the NILAB, but in the tech scene in general. Like, I was like, oh, wow. Maybe looking back, maybe 4, 5, 6 years later, I was like, there was a lot that I could have done and should have done in the tech scene to make it more equitable, to give people more opportunity. But I was broke and nobody was going to come and fix me except me. And
do you think it was the wrong decision?
No. I would have died there.
1,000 times you'd still do it the same.
If I went back in time, I'd do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very proud of that decision because men don't choose themselves often, especially, and this is a very interesting statement because I've learned this over time. Men don't choose themselves often, especially when it comes to self-sacrifice. They're forced to do it. When you choose it, you own it. Even your failures are learning points. But a lot of people right now who are living the life I'm living haven't chosen it. They were forced to do it because you have to be a provider, you have to be a protector, you have to be a priest, you have to be all these things. And that was it's always going to be a reference point for me for you chose this just by yourself.
Yeah.
And even if it was a bad decision, it was only you who decided.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. And I'm proud of myself for doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you start making money after that? Oh, other than the fact that we know you finished the money in a year.
I finished the money in a year.
Yeah.
But part of it I invested in Kytabu.
Okay.
I got my boy Hamilton Juma, aka Tosh. Tosh is currently the MD of IDEO. Fantastic guy, I love him. And Tosh Juma helped me design the first iteration of Kytabu. I pitched it to a couple of people. We won Pivot East in 2015. You know, small things started happening, showing me maybe you're in the right track. And EdTech was sexy 2015 to 2018. And we won some money. We won a grant of $150,000 from BCME. I became like an Africa business hero. Like all of these small things happened. But the journey of building a business was so punishing. I lost my previous relationship. So my ex-wife and I separated because I was not available emotionally.
And was this from the same? This is the same relationship from the NILAB time.
Yes. Okay. Same relationship from the NILAB time. We had 2 kids by that time, and the inconsistency of my income punished my relationship because that's what income does.
Yeah.
It works for you more than it doesn't. It works against you, and it was just too difficult for me. My mind wasn't there. I was constantly thinking about work, constantly thinking about making more, and I just didn't have time and space for myself to be, who
the person you were supposed to be in the family.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on her side, also there were expectations that were unmet, and the more expectations that are unmet, the more unhappy you become, and then it shows in different ways, and then all of a sudden you're incompatible.
Yeah.
That's just what happens. This is why wealthy relationships don't struggle with incompatibility. Yeah. It's only poor ones. So that's what happened. That's such a truth. I should put that on a t-shirt.
If you're wealthy, it's
the compatibility is almost zero.
It's cheating, it's whatever. But it's not incompatibility.
We can fix them, but if you're broke,
incompatibility.
You smell bad. Leave. That's a vulnerable moment right there.
That's interesting. I mean, I want to ask a question around.
Yeah.
I guess just what you're talking about in terms of money.
Yeah.
Making a relationship work and not making a relationship work.
Right.
And let me quote from, I don't know when this episode is going to go out, but by the time it goes out, Jules' episode will be out. Yeah. And Jules talked about saying that for her, in her life, she doesn't think she can be happy and broke.
Yeah, that's true. I know Jules, first of all. Jules is a friend.
Yeah.
And she's a phenomenal woman. And it's right. It's true. And let me tell you what I've learned in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
A man's responsibility is summarized in these 5 Ps.
Yeah.
I hope to God everybody remembers them.
Yeah.
You are the priest of your home. You are the prophet of your home, which means you speak life into things and you speak life out of things. You're the prophet of your home. So it's your vision that guides the home, not hers.
Yeah.
You are the prophet of your home.
Yeah.
You are the protector of your home. So your body needs to look protecting.
Yeah.
So I struggle with Kitambi type situations. I just if I'm not going to the gym, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, you have to protect your family. Like you
Are
need
you
to
as
look
are you
formidable.
as whatever as Amerix
What is this?
of unfat?
I'm not gonna fat shame anyone. I just don't have that energy. But I'm just like, can I give you? I have
Yeah, okay, but
trauma,
I
man.
hear
You know what I mean?
mean.
Like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
the protector of your home.
yeah.
So look like one.
Yeah.
Don't just look like one.
Yeah, play the part.
You are the procreator in your home. Like, you have a very, very solid responsibility to. Can we talk about this on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yes, good. We have a very serious responsibility to have good sex.
Yeah.
And that goes back to being a protector. You have to be healthy. You have to be fit. Your jellies cannot be hidden by your tummy. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be able to see all the way down to your knees.
Get to see your toes.
Can you see your toes, bro? Like,
Yeah.
make this an experience that the woman's like, I want to go home.
Yeah.
On a Thursday night at 8.
Yeah.
I want to be home on a Saturday night at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Because he's going to take care of me, right?
Yeah.
So and that's really important. So you're the procreator of your home. And then you are the provider of your home. I don't care what you tell me. I have learned, sadly, in the last couple of months,
Yeah.
the length, breadth, and width of my provisional prowess
Yeah.
is a requirement, not by the girl, by God.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. Because I can resent the girl and be like, you just want to take all my stuff. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. God's like, Adam, come. Garden of Eden, yours. Sleep, woman.
Yeah.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
Not Adam, Eve, desert. Figure it out.
Yeah.
No. It is
So
Adam.
you're in your understanding and in your as a man, you have to figure it out.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Jules was right. She
Okay.
can't be happy and broke.
So in the context then of making a relationship
Right,
work,
right.
right? And not to go into your separation or whatever, but if you're living in this situation where you're saying your income is inconsistent,
Right.
your mental space isn't at the best place,
Right.
at the moment. You're, as you said, clinically depressed.
Right.
So being able to provide is you're in between a rock and a hard place.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
So what do you
do?
Yeah, that's part of my question. So in an ideal situation, what would have happened or what should have happened?
Turn inside.
Yeah.
I turn inside. That's
Yeah.
the answer. I should have turned inside.
Yeah.
A lot of men are doing this thing where we are not openly vulnerable to ourselves about what we're going through. So we try to run away from it. I guarantee you if I turned inside and I was like, I am in trouble and I need help. I'm in a group of 138 Mangu men, because I was in Mangu, remember? And in my latest business, Tribbe, which is a fintech that I've just started, my first $30,000 investment came from my Mangu men. 30K. I have always had these men, always had them. But I never reached out to them when I needed them. I just said, I'm going to be Superman, try to do this by myself. And so I failed. So the relationship failed. I don't regret it. It's fine. No problem. Things have happened. I've got 2 wonderful daughters. And life's okay.
Yeah.
But then I realized that it was a lost opportunity. And I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
At least I've learned in the last couple of months. Because the thing about it is, even in the relationships post that, I really still struggled with this money thing of why do I have to be the one who pays for everything? See, you're human. See,
Yeah.
God gave you gifts. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Pay for your own way.
Yeah.
No, sir. In the last couple of months, I've really been schooled.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that a lot because this is the truth. I have increased my net worth this year, maybe 600-fold.
600-fold.
600-fold than I had ever before. I am net worth now, because of the companies I own, $2.2 million worth. Like, that's my net worth on paper, right? I can, because some of it is Delaware registered and we've got investors from different parts of the world, I can be able to cash in and leverage on that.
Yeah.
And that's just the businesses. That's what the businesses are worth, right? Fintech and edtech. And I've built Kytabu for a decade. So if I was to sell the company, for example, the brand alone is worth $400,000.
Yeah.
Brand, take the Kytabu name, just that alone.
Yeah.
Then when you come and start looking at the assets, it could increase in value. And that, I didn't know that until I reached out to a Mangu man and I'm like, can you please help me figure out my net worth?
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, so here's what you've got. Then take that. I'm sure you saw that Bill Gates video.
Yeah.
That, again, has put me in the spotlight. And they're like, look, we have seen somebody who's got oratory skills, has been in the tech scene and the Kenyan ed tech scene and the Kenyan tech scene in general for, a decade and some. We'd like to do some things in AI in East Africa, and we think you're the person to do it.
Yeah.
Head tap. So those kind of relationships are not built by luck.
Yeah.
It's hard work.
Yeah.
Day in, day out. You get a success. What is that thing called? overnight successes take a decade to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's essentially what that is. And in learning that, I've also learned that before I get into a relationship for real, those 5 things: priest, prophet, provider, procreation, and wait, let me do it again. Priest,
provision,
prophet, provider, protector, and procreation. Gotta get those right.
Okay.
Because what am I bringing her into? Where is my Garden of Eden? I need to know what car she wants to drive. And I need to plan for it. I need to know where she wants to travel to. I need to plan for it. I need to know what kind of clothes she likes wearing. Is she an Odupo? I don't know if you guys know Namnyak, but Namnyak stuff is excellent. Is she a Namnyak babe? Because then I need to plan for it. Like everything I need to plan for. Then kids. Where are kids going? Which school? Like I need to plan for that. So by the time she comes, like my legs are up on the table, I have sorted you out. Unless you come up with something crazy, like I want to own a diamond mine in Zimbabwe. Everything else is in check.
Okay. Question: what happened in these last couple of months? Because you've referenced it at least 3 or 4 times now.
I'm not going to talk about
that changed. No. Okay. Well, maybe not the event in and of itself.
Right.
But what's the learning process that you went through the last 3 or 4 months that has, allowed you to multiply your net worth and see life in the light that you're seeing now?
I lost someone valuable. And I could not for the life of me understand why. I was like, wait, I know I messed up there, but all of this, like I was like, I'm a shit dude. Like I'm the shit. Like I'm not a joke. Like, fuck, I'm like an amazing man. What happened? And you do self-reflection. And so in doing that, and I really love that it happened, for the reason that I got to sit down and just, how you just take a mirror, put it in front of you, and you're like, we are going to study you. What is the you issue? And for the first time in a very long time, I went for therapy for me, not for an issue.
And not
me.
to solve
I'm not solving a problem. I'm like, hi, I am Tonee. This is who I am. And there's nothing as amazing as a personal inventory of where are you? Where did you want to be? What do you do? What did you want to do? What are your hopes, your dreams, aspirations? There's this thing called Vista, your vision, your inventory, your strategy, your tactics, and your action plan. What are you? And there was a lot of bullshit in there, man. And I had to pull it out. And one of the biggest chunks was this money piece. Like I was angry about this money piece. I'm like, why do I have to be the one taking care of you? And I didn't realize that cassette was playing in my music at all. Like I didn't know that it was background noise. And when I removed it is when I was like, oh, I'm resentful because I had this opportunity when I was younger. I lost it and I was angry at God for taking that away from me and never giving me that kind of thing. And I didn't have the confidence I'd be able to make it again. And that was a really mind-opening experience because I said to myself, back to remember I told you the CV situation? And as I've learned all these things, some guys headhunted me and I was like, so what would you guys pay me for this? And they said, oh, we can't afford you. And I was like, but you headhunted me. Why? We want to take you part-time. You want to take me part-time? Okay. Okay, so cool. You take me part-time. What's part-time? We're not going to take too much of your time. Like, so what is too much of my time? Long and short of it, they have costed me at roughly just as a human. They're like, your experience is $250,000 to $300,000 a year. That's like 3.5 million shillings a month. Net. That's the value of you. I've never known that. I never thought that I was that valuable. And because I never knew I was that valuable, I didn't present myself as somebody of that much value. And so I'm like, these people are sick. They have lost their minds. That's not possible. Until this gate situation opens up and it's the same thing. And I'm like, okay, so wait. Okay. So this is who I am as a person. That's wild. Who said that? Am I living that way? Then you start understanding who you are. And so these guys have come back and they're like, we'll take a third of your time for the equivalent amount. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Cool.
No problem. No problem whatsoever.
Like I'm like, okay, so that's fine.
Okay.
But then I'm learning those 5 roles are so key to a man, being a priest, being a prophet, being a protector, a provider, and a procreator, that I have now owned them. And I'm like, whatever situation I get into,
that's who you will
That's
be.
who I am.
Okay.
Not even who will be.
That's who you are.
That's who I am. You walk in and you sit down and when the lady, whoever the lady is going to be, when you walk in and sit down and have a conversation, it's going to be about what are your visions, goals, aspirations, and desires.
Right.
Then after you've given them to me, I'm like, so here's my plan. Here's where I'm going. I'm asking you to come with. my plan stays first, right?
Yeah.
My vision stays first.
Yeah.
But I will prioritize you above everything and everyone else.
Yeah.
After that plan, because if I lose that plan, I'll
Then
lose you.
Lose you. Yeah.
So and that's really been something that I've enjoyed learning, experiencing. I'm on like 60 audiobooks now.
Yeah.
Like just I'm listening to them at times 2 speed in the car when I'm stuck in traffic, when I'm walking, and I've consumed literally every book in financial management and money making I've ever come across. All of them.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to the same thing. What do you have in front of you? What are you doing with it?
Yeah.
Because the power is in your hand.
Yeah.
No one else is going to come save you.
Okay. Interesting tangent over there. Lots of lessons. If we were to go back, because you said, even if it's sort of now looking at the process of how you end up building your net worth, your company net worth to 2.2 billion.
So Knight's a $3.5 million company.
$3.5 million
I own
company.
half of it.
Yeah, $3.5 million company.
Right.
2.2 billion Kenyan shillings. What are the things that happen that allow you to get to that space? Because you talked about, I guess where we're at in terms of like your money journey is you start Kytabu and you find your business partner.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did Kytabu. I did it alone as a solo founder. It was a horrible experience. I'd never encourage anyone to be a solo founder.
Yeah.
COVID came, a fantastic opportunity, but we learned that guys are always sharing.
Sorry, so and at this time, because you talk about COVID, between
2012 is when I started it, 2020 is COVID. So in that period of time, I'm doing ups and downs, getting money, spending it, finishing it, going broke. Getting money, like I had this
So at that time, how much are you living on an average basis, monthly basis?
Maybe $3,000, like $250K to $450K a month.
A month?
But you need to understand, I have a month where I have 8 million, and then I have a month where I have no money. Like even 2 months. Like my landlord was the most frustrated man.
Yeah.
Because he'd be like, are you paying me? I said, sometime in the next 6 months. He'd be like, what? But when I pay him for a year. And then he's stressed out because he likes that staggering amount of money.
Yeah.
He really likes it.
Yeah.
But he recognizes that with that staggering amount of money comes months of dryness.
Yeah, there'll be, once that...
There was.
once the year is over.
Once the year is over, he can wait 6 months for his money. He's like, Tonee, I don't know about it. And that cyclic nature with my ADHD and dyslexia and personal ups and downs I was untenable. I couldn't. Functionality was difficult.
Yeah.
So
between, and are you saving? Are you investing?
You're an entrepreneur. You don't
is
save,
the
man.
investment.
Kytabu is the investment.
Okay.
Kytabu
There's no emergency. There's no emergency savings
I had
plan.
like life insurance. I have like you know that stuff.
That's
the basics,
when you're not here.
But that's when I'm dead. Oh no, sorry, it's not life insurance. Medical insurance. I had medical insurance in case something happens. Because I don't want to be dead. You know. So I had that, but apart from that, like. No, it was just swinging left, right. Like being an entrepreneur is so... people don't tell you how difficult entrepreneurs have it in this land.
Yeah.
I would sit and have conversations with people who have raised $10 million. And when I'm finished with the meal, they're like, bro, can you pay? I'm like, you just closed a $10 million round.
Yeah.
He says, by the time I get money from my investors, 7 people need to sign that check. 7. Like, I've been waiting for salaries because we didn't hit a milestone last month. No one's been paid. So even when my friend, Tesh closes his company or when, Sandy collapses, quote unquote, and all of that, people look at them and they're like, how did you get 30 million and the business failed? Get inside there. Get inside there and then you see the fires these guys have been putting out. And then you realize that all that glitters on LinkedIn is not...
because there's a big announcement that's made, which is the acknowledgement, which is great, but then now the nitty-gritty is there's milestones and things which if you don't hit...
They destroy you.
You don't get the money.
They're not nice. They're not nice. These are loans.
Yeah.
People think when you get... Like now, Benji Fernandez of Nala got $40 million, right?
Yeah.
NASDAQ pictures look fantastic, yes. The pressure he's under to make... Remember, you're giving them a return on their investment that could be 10 to 15x what they gave you.
Yeah.
So they gave you $40 million.
Yeah.
You're trying to make $400 million to give it back.
Yeah.
Recognize the 400 you're not keeping to give it back.
Yeah.
And the threat when you fail
is
your head's chopped off and you lose your company. And you're out on the streets. Starting again.
Yeah.
What job is Benjamin Fernandez going to go and get? He's going to go work for a bank after you've built a fintech? You can't.
Yeah.
So the options are very few.
Yeah.
So Kytabu was the same way.
Yeah.
I was supposed to leave Kytabu and go work for what? Like a school.
Yeah.
Or get a job.
Yeah.
It wasn't possible. So this was everything. So you throw everything at it.
You throw everything
because
at
when
it.
people say you're clutching on threads, we're not clutching on threads. I have one thread.
Yeah.
This is all. There's no thread.
It's the one.
It's singular thread. I have one. It was wild. You know what I mean? So you throw everything in the kitchen sink at this thing.
Yeah.
Like you make $10,000, you pay rent, buy food, put everything else.
So at that point, I'm assuming. So your priorities would be you're paying rent, like you've said. You're paying,
feeding the family,
feeding
doing fees,
your kids. Yes.
Fuel.
Yeah.
And internet.
How did that work for? I guess
didn't.
even when you're getting into the separation period,
it didn't work.
Did she still understand
just left.
that it is cyclical?
No, she just went. She just went.
Okay.
It's like deuces.
Yeah, this one is not.
I'm
this
done.
one is not for me.
Yeah. I'm gone.
And okay, if I'm to ask a question, like practically, what does that mean for, like a practical life? So does it mean that you can't go on date? Does it mean you can't go?
What are those?
Yeah.
Dates. What?
Yeah.
Why? For what?
Yeah.
No. The social life. Social lives of entrepreneurs are very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't have drama in this Nairobi. No one's gonna call me and be like, Tony, this is my baby. 7. I don't have drama because I just couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
Literally, I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
I went out with a couple of friends recently, and the bill was 100 G's.
Yeah.
And all of us put in 20,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Are you mad? My bill was 18,800.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? Why? Just you explain to me why.
Yeah.
Why can't we go to my house? That's like 10 cows.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not. But it depends
on the
you know what I mean?
cows,
Like,
but
let's go and just do it at someone's house and chill.
Yeah.
No, we have to come to this new restaurant. And I'm like, what did any of us gain?
By
the music was
spending this-
super loud.
Yeah.
We barely talked. If you spoke to me, you're spitting at me because you have to shout.
Yeah.
We barely knew anyone who was there who came and joined us because you're screaming at this guy or this girl and you're like, what's your name? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And when I was done, a friend of mine was like, Tony, you understand this is Nairobi. This is the norm.
Yeah.
We don't do anything else.
Like this is what we do.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
We drink and go home. I was like, you guys go to the forest? Do you get out of town? Does any of you have a flying plane license? And I did a TikTok about it actually a while ago, about how Kenyan men don't have hobbies. Because we can't afford them because we spend all our money in bars.
Yeah.
We don't have anything else. It's very much like London type. Like these guys do nothing, right? If you go to a different European country, you go to the bar once, like I told you, I lived in the Netherlands for a bit.
Yeah.
You go to the bar once every 2-3 weeks because there's so much other stuff to do. You'd get on, I remember this, we got on a bike in Amsterdam, rode bikes to Rotterdam. That was the event.
That was the thing we were doing.
That was the thing. Well, again, the Netherlands is sand on ocean, it's flat. But still, that's an activity. And we planned that thing. You go to the gym. I was there for like 4 weeks before we went for that trip. You go there, you stay, you all camp. It was fantastic. It was all drugs. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is, these guys knew how to enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
We don't have any of that. So when coming back to be an entrepreneur, you prioritize where your money is going to go.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, having Tribbe, now the new company, being valued at 3.5 million, working with Sebastian Mafula as my co-founder, Faisal Mirza as my co-founder. Faisal is the former CTO of Cellulant. Seb sold his company Trick Media to Radio Africa when he was 28. Youngest exit I know. To get the reputation of these people to back you in a business and then get money from Renew Capital and other funders, you have to earn this.
Yeah.
It's not luck.
Yeah.
But that takes years of work.
Yeah.
So I don't regret any of the things I've
Did you
I've not
understand that then,
No.
or do you understand that now?
Now I get it.
But at the time, what was the drive? What was the motivation? Because by the time you
I just didn't want to move back to my parents' house.
it was just
That's
that
the
simple.
motivation.
I have a question. If I'm to reference, Tom Brady, a couple of years ago before he retired,
Quarterback, yeah.
they say it's alleged because, of course, we don't know the happiness, but it's alleged because he was already 40. I think he was 43 or 44 at the time.
Very
and
old
they
quarterback.
say his wife told him, my guy, allegedly, either you retire, like we can't keep doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Like either you retire, or you retire, or I go.
Oh, you, yeah.
So he retired.
Yeah. It was Obama and Michelle again. She
Yes.
said if he runs for president again, I'll leave.
So he retired.
Yeah.
So after he retired, he chilled for, I think it was
Lost his mind.
a couple of months. He was like, no. Went back.
And she encouraged him.
And when he went back, she left.
Bailed.
She left. So my question to you is: did you have any come to Jesus moment like that?
Yes.
Whether it's with your family or
Yes.
where people are like, okay, this isn't working.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yeah.
I've been auctioned 4 times.
You've been auctioned 4
Yeah.
times.
My mom bailed me out twice, and then my boys bailed me out twice. And you don't tell stories like those. The first time it was a very small auction. Like somebody took my laptop. But then that's all I had.
Yeah.
The last time it was like a 4.5 million shilling situation.
Yeah.
Because we were waiting for a $150,000 check that took 9 months to get here. We even took the auctioneers the email. We even got the guys to call and say, we will send them the money.
Yeah.
He said, well, we will wait. We will not sell their stuff.
Yeah.
We'll just wait. And folks came in, not my folks, like my friends came and bailed me out of that. And my come to Jesus moment was actually about 2 years ago. And about 2 years ago. And I had a personal situation and I couldn't financially pay for it. And I was like, something has to change. And it's not the world, it's me.
Yeah.
The problem is I didn't know how. And I didn't surround myself with people to help me learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And so I started reading, maybe a year after that. And I was like, it took me a while to recognize that it was a me problem. And I started learning how to do it. And the last couple of months is when I've really like mastered. I've had more time, I've had more focus.
Yeah.
And it's working. It's actually genuinely working. I have, for the first time ever, deep enough savings that if a bad situation happens, I can fix it.
Right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Like deep enough.
Yeah.
Like it's not what I want, but it's deep enough.
Yeah.
That if somebody says, I'm in hospital,
Yeah.
I got you covered. Like I realized there's a couple of people who, if something happens to them,
You need to be able to.
I need to be able to sort it.
Yeah.
So I did health insurance for those folks. I'm like, you're good. I put an account for each of them in my mind. They don't know that account exists, but I put an account for each of them in my mind, put $500,000 in each of them, those accounts. And I'm like, if you need your car sorted, I got you. If you get sick, I got you. If you need fees, I got you. Like, there's just money in accounts. Don't even, like, I have to go to the bank to withdraw that money.
To be able to move that money, yeah.
First time in my life I've saved. And then I've built a business that is, Kytabu was grant-oriented. I'm now on Tribbe. I'm going to become the president of the board of Kytabu, hire people to run that shop, but I'm now moving into a fintech that makes money. And we are closing our second 175 in the course of the next month. We'll have our $350,000, and then we start building to make money.
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to stop.
Yeah.
Like, I have plotting Karen in my mind, landing Lam in my mind. Like, I'm just not going to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep going until I get it done. Full stop. No discussion, no arguments, nothing. And the thing about it that I found really amazing is when I decided that this was going to happen, the world started working for me. Case videos started coming out. Invitations to meet Sam Altman started coming out. AI is making sense for me. Like, things start working. It's almost as if the world was waiting for me to get my mind in the right space. Now I'm like, cool. I know I've been living for the last 8 years is where I'm going to live for the next 3 months, and I'm gone. I know the cars I've been driving for the last X amount are not the cars I might be driving soon. Like, you just get into a place where everything just locks in and shifts.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, understood.
So that shift begins to happen for you after COVID.
After COVID.
Okay. How do you survive through COVID?
EdTech companies were making staggering money. Like, we had $450,000 in the bank during COVID. So we were fine.
Yeah.
So COVID was great for EdTech companies. Everyone was like, solve the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was great. And then again, and this is actually important, that was one of the highest highs.
Yeah.
Which is usually followed by what? The lowest lows. And that's when, after that, after I'd kind of somewhat managed that low and kind of got into a lull, is when I was like, something needs to change. I can't not be able to cater for my partner the way they need to be catered for. I can't be able to not cater for my kids the way they need to be catered for, because I was seeing someone after that.
Yeah.
And towards the end of that relationship is when I was like, okay, now I'm starting to understand it.
Yeah.
And understand what my role really looks like.
Yeah.
And then, after it ended in school, I went to get, somebody who really spoke into that.
Yeah.
And took that father role that my dad didn't know how to do.
Yeah.
And they were very quick and clear. Dyslexic ADHD. They didn't take a long time.
Yeah.
They were like, this is who you are. This is what you can do. This is the power you hold. These are the steps you need to take.
Yeah.
See you. I've never seen him again. And from then on, everything's different.
Yeah.
That was my come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
I was like, it's this easy? Are you sure?
Yeah.
And then I started doing it, and it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even so, and when you're at I guess Kytabu, when you're your highs during the COVID period and providing education for virtual education for everybody, what are the amounts that you guys are paying yourselves? And did you
it varied?
Did that equal to the good times equal to an increase?
The good times definitely, like, wow, yeah, definitely Like I remember, it's one time I paid guys like $1 million, Bob.
Yeah.
Like we were like 12, 13.
Yeah.
I sent everyone
like
a staggering amount of money.
Yeah.
And then I still had money for myself, which
Yeah.
I spread out. So 400, 600,000,
Yeah.
like, and of course you're paying taxes. So
Yes,
this is now
yes,
after
yes.
tax,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that means that 400, 600,000 is really 800, 900,000, right? So
yeah.
you're really, because we really want to make sure that we're good with KRA.
Yeah.
Because we recognized that the business is giving us revenue or money,
Yeah.
and anything that messes up the business messes
Yeah.
up our revenue stream.
Yeah.
So we're very clear, we have to make sure all of that works.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the people I've stayed with in Kytabu for the longest is my accountant.
Mm-hmm.
And he has access to all my things, everything, everywhere. He's got my e-Teams account, all of it, because whenever I get a penny, make sure you pay. Because the government will shut you down.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You make sure you pay that. And so that's always been an added value. So once...
And what were you doing with the money at the time? So with your salary? What
Yeah,
did you do
so
with the money?
I was throwing the money back into the business. I remember paying $92,000 to a Kenyan development company to build the Kytabu app, and it never finished.
Yeah.
The Kytabu app was never finished.
Yeah.
And I never took any of that money and thought about myself. It was always about the company. Always about the company.
So even when you get in this 400,000 to 600,000 per month, you're still in the same cycle.
100%.
You're paying rent, paying fees, paying whatever, and then reinvest.
All of it, every single penny. Like, I don't think you understand when I say all of it. Like, all of it. I'd be like, what does Kytabu need? And then my help would be like, you realize we need food. I'd be like, how much do we need? So let's say 50,000. And Kytabu, the account has 100,000. I'm like, can I give you 20? You figure it out. You go to the Soko over there so I can put as much money in Kytabu as possible. Like, I was 100% behind this company. And it took me a very long time to see that behavior as a coping mechanism for fear. Like fear of lack. Because I did not want to not have something.
Yeah.
I've told somebody this, and they said, I wish you said it loudly. So I'm going to say it loudly. 80% of the time, Kytabu didn't work.
80% of the
time.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
I had to captain a ship that was 80% of the time not working. But people see the 20%. Because the 20% is loud. It's the 80% that destroys you. So when they were seeing the 80%, they were seeing the 20% and celebrating and calling you out, and not calling you out, calling you great and all of that stuff. I am just aware of the 80%.
Yeah.
I just see, when everyone is seeing the black on the red, I'm seeing the red on the black.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing how much.
And you
there
never created a clear separation between you and the company and say, Tonee needs to be able to live, and the company needs to, live or die. It needs to decide for itself whether it's going to live or die. So when I get my salary, it's mine for my life. You never had that separation.
No. It's recent. It's so recent. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's so recent. I'm 44 now.
Yeah.
So maybe when I was 42, 3.
That's when you're creating that separation.
Very recent. Very
It's
recent.
crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And
So you're living a bare minimum life.
Always. Like, I'm
because
so minimalistic.
By choice.
Yeah. I'm so minimalistic. It's shaking. It scares people. Like, I have a couch.
Yeah.
2 couches.
Yeah.
Because I've got 2 kids.
Yeah.
There's 2 couches.
In
I
your
have 2 TVs. So one is for them, one is for me.
Yeah.
I built my own bed. I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Built it. I have 2 cars now. So I have, but I had a Land Rover Defender, the 90. It's 2 doors. Because I could manually, like, it's the kind of car that breaks, you see what breaks.
Yeah.
I didn't want an electric car where it's like a
The
fuse,
sensors and the
sensor. No.
yeah.
Now I have a Land Rover that has
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But even then, I didn't go for a flashy Land Rover. No. I went for a Freelander.
Yeah.
Simple, straight, $15,000 or 2.2 million, clean.
Yeah.
The Defender was always like a passion project, but nobody really liked it because it's noisy. It has no roof, so it's a canvas. It's just So it was really mine.
Yeah.
This one is for everyone else. But this year something changed.
Yeah.
Completely, to the point where my cars are changing.
Yeah.
My house is changing.
Yeah.
My body is changing. My bank accounts have changed. And just my outlook on life is different. Honestly, I feel like this is going to sound ridiculous, but I look forward to the people who are coming into this new phase of my life.
Yeah.
The ones that I keep from before, but the ones that I also meet who are new. Because they'll never be able to reconcile the 2 Tonees. Yeah. Never. They'll never be able to reconcile them. I remember going to Bata and buying shoes for like $1,200. And I was like, I don't understand why I need shoes that cost more. Yeah. Like, that makes no sense. And then not very long ago, I walked into a store and I bought a pair of shoes that's 50 Gs. I was like, I've earned this.
Yeah.
Pair of shoes, 50K. I was like, went back to my wardrobe, put it next to the others, and I was like, nope. Took all the shoes I had and gave them out. And I was like, I want to remember how hard it got for me, but then I also want to celebrate how much it took and the fact that I sustained it to get to this point. I made it. I did it. I did this. No one came to save me. I did this for myself.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Full stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next business venture. So after Kytabu, yes, the new one. Yeah.
It's 2 years old.
How did you get into it?
It's called Tribbe. So we're always lending and borrowing money from each other.
Yeah.
Always lending and borrowing money from each other. I saw it. We're always lending money from and borrowing from each other. And I'm like, why aren't we lending and borrowing more? Well, because people don't pay us back.
Yeah.
Because there's no ramifications if I give my mom or my brother or anyone 50 Gs and they don't pay it back.
Yeah.
Tribbe is about fixing that reputational risk. It's about giving everyone a credit score in the form of a color around their profile picture and getting people to understand other people's financial credibility without necessarily seeing their financial transactions.
Okay.
So any amount of money that I'm moving between me and somebody I care about, so Barack and I are moving money, I guess 2 Gs, 10 Gs, whatever, that creates a credit score for the two of us.
Yeah.
And so when you come and say, hey, I need 50,000, the app is like, he's 94% chance of pay you back in the 3 days he said. In 7 days, I don't know. In 3, like it gives you an actual number based on that. Same way Uber tells you Uber driver X has 5-star rating or whatever. We do that for each other. And then what happens is these 15,000, 50,000, 500,000 shillings that's stuck in the bank. You put it on the platform. And you lend to people with a small tip. It makes more money for you than a savings account in a bank. And we run that system for you. And that's Tribbe.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
How do you guys how do you come up with it? How do you set up? How do you set up? How do you
During COVID, I told you I had the most money amongst my friends. During COVID, I had the most money among my friends, and I was lending and helping people out because people are struggling.
Purely because of how good Kytabu was doing at the time.
Kytabu was doing so well, and I had this Excel sheet that I was writing all this stuff up. And my friend Nomondi Otiende, Bob, KQ pilot, fantastic guy, was like, Tonee, you should turn this into an app. I'm like, what would the app do? And he said, do you see the way you know who has done what transaction, and therefore if somebody says so-and-so is asking you for money, you can be able to say, I don't think they can afford to pay it, because you can see the depth of their debt. If an app did that, what would happen? And I was like, oh, this is clever. Then AI came out. And I was like, wait, artificial intelligence can do this better than a human. Let's add the two of them. Let's take the app, let's take AI, let's integrate them. And then, because we already have a Chama culture in Kenya, and an Asusu culture in West Africa, and a Tontine culture also in West Africa, and a Stockville culture in South Africa, all of those are just Chamas. Same word, different things. This can be an Africa product. Because I'm not thinking Kenya, I'm not thinking small. Put it together, put your pitch deck, pass it around, got ignored for a while, realized the problem is that none of us have a fintech background. Managed to convince my friend Faisal to join the company as a co-founder. Put the same pitch deck out, a bit rebranded, same pitch deck out. 6 people bit in the first week. After quite a bit of due diligence, because there's a lot of stuff we need to do with DTB Bank who we're working with. We got our paperwork in order, and we got an investment of $175,000 of the $350,000 that we needed with a basic product. So we were given shy of 50 million bob, and we'll get the other 175. So shy of 50 million bob with a basic product and 2,000 people using it. 3,000, 2,700. And the funder said, if you get this right, that you change, because credit is very difficult to find in Africa. You change the game.
We don't have a.
There's a small bunch of people with enough money to lend, and a big bunch of people with enough space to absorb it. If you can figure out the trust metric between the two of them,
it'll be able to change a lot of.
Let me give you context. Every year, about $297 billion is moved on M-Pesa. 56 of that goes between people, largely 8 in number. So half of M-Pesa's transactions are among people, and that's a group of 8.
So within like small just communities of eight.
So why are we not building something for those 8 that helps them put even more money into a relationship? Let's make it happen. That's Tribbe.
Okay, and that's where. So this you said this you developed just after COVID.
Just after COVID. So 2021 we registered the company in Kenya and the US. 2022 we started looking for actively for who can be involved in this. I remember the co-owners, Bob and Oscar, who all of us didn't have any fintech experience, just joined the board. And then I was out looking for now other co-founders. And I managed to get Sebastian Mafula first, and he came in. And then on the day we were going to pitch our first investor face-to-face, I met with Faiza, Mirza, and Faz was like, yeah, I'm happy to join. And we met at 1:30, talked about it. And at 4:30, we went and met the investor, and he said, I'm their CTO. And I was like, God, thank you. Because remember what I said, when you set your mind to do something, and you've learned the lesson you need to learn, and you've aligned yourself to the plan, and you've accepted, this is who I am supposed to be, and so now I own it, things fall into place.
Okay.
Things fell.
You said something interesting there, which I want to go back to. We said you've learned the lesson that you needed to learn.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I guess now, whether it's in a philosophical point of view or whatever, if you hadn't learned the lesson that you needed to learn between 2012 to this 2021 period, do you feel the opportunities would have opened up in the same way?
No, because the thing about opportunities, and this is the thing that's really important, success is opportunity plus preparation.
Yeah.
The opportunity was always presenting itself.
Yeah.
I was just never prepared.
Yeah.
And I recognize, in fact, in the last couple of, maybe the year or two that I've had, maybe actually the last year, if not less, that it's not a philosophy, actually. It's a mindset shift. And when you change your mindset, you change your life.
Yeah.
And that's what I've learned. Change your mindset. But for people like us, the neurodivergent people, changing our mindset is tough. We're stubborn. We are very stubborn.
And not intentionally.
Not intentionally. It's not even our fault.
It's just the way that
we
it
only know
works.
how to hold on to one thread.
Yeah.
So by the time you're telling me let go, and I cannot see where the other thread is coming from, that thread has caught fire. It is red hot. My fingers have burnt off my hand. I'm literally holding it with stubs.
Yeah.
My teeth, all of it. And when I let go of the thread, I realized that when I fall, a better version of me can catch me.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. A better version of Tonee kept catching me.
Yeah.
And now I am very clear about what I want for myself.
Yeah.
I'm very clear about what I want for my family, for my business. I know who I am, what the business is. Like, I understand so much that I didn't understand before.
Yeah.
And it's showing in the lifestyle I have and in the things that I'm doing, and then mostly in the decisions that I'm making.
Yeah.
And I love it for me.
So what are you investing? How has this reflected in your money journey now?
Yes. So I've cut it up into 5 things.
Yeah.
I've said, first of all, what does Tonee want?
Yeah.
And I've created not just an account, but I've created a standard for what Tonee wants and what Tonee will do and how Tonee will live. It's a very high standard.
Yeah.
And I've put money against that standard, and I know where I'm getting that money from.
Yeah.
The second thing is, where are the people Tonee loves going to be in this life? And I've created a standard for all of them, everyone. And they're not many, I have 4 people. And I've created a standard for all of them.
Yeah.
And I've put them in such a place where I know I can give you this without you having to feel obligated, or like I can take care of this, and I know where the money's coming from.
Yeah.
So myself, how I live, how I love. The other one is what I believe.
Yeah.
What do you believe you can be able to attain? And I've crystallized that, written it down. This is my vision. This is my plan. This is my purpose. This is where I'm going. And I'm very clear on that. And I've written it down and I put a bank account to it.
Yeah.
Like everything has a bank account to it.
Yeah.
So how I live, those I love, what I believe. And then the fourth one, which I think is subtle but important, what will I condone?
Yeah.
I know the things I will do to get this money, but I know the things I won't do.
Yeah.
There are some things I won't do.
Yeah.
So these are the things I will condone. These are things I will not condone.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to stoop to that level.
Yeah.
This is not who I am.
Yeah.
And then the last one I think is really important is who will help me?
Yeah.
And putting people around you so that you don't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Super important.
Yeah.
So when I hit a wall, and I hit a wall a lot, I turn to someone and they're like, you've never done this before. Calm down. Just calm down. Try again. And then second try, things work out.
Yeah.
So those are the little, actually they're not little, those are big decisions I made for myself. And I can see it even in the way, in where I go, what I eat, how I live, the number of times I hit the gym, the books I read, the person I'm being, the determination I have to make whatever shouldn't work work. Yeah. Like I'm very intentional about the work I'm doing, the money I'm getting, the friendships I'm having, the relationships I'm building, those I'm keeping and those I'm not.
Yeah.
Because there are people who have left and I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
And there are people who have stayed and I'm okay with it. There are people who I'm keeping intentionally. There are people who I'm not.
Yeah.
Like all of those things I'm very intentional about because I recognize I'm the only one who can build my life out the way I want it. And it doesn't start with money. It ends with money.
Yeah.
It starts with the decision.
Okay. And so for these 5 different pillars that you're tracking against money, you're trying to provide money from,
Right.
are you still now getting, is your money, your income stream, is it still one track
No,
minded?
it
now?
is so diversified
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I've put money in crypto.
Okay.
It's so and I'm happy to lose it.
Yes.
But it's so diversified now.
Yeah.
Like I remember,
Yeah.
I went.
And this is all within the last 2 years.
No, last 6 months.
This is within the last 6 months.
Yeah, February was not right.
Up
February.
until February, all your monies, your
I think
investments.
all of those things came. The Jesus moment was about March.
Okay.
All of that stuff came and fell on me March. But I was still, again, one track minded with Kytabu. So it's this year that I've diversified.
That's what I'm saying. So up until before February,
Yeah.
everything you had, everything you were was in
Kytabu. Yeah. Now it's. I
Okay,
own
yeah.
2 cows. This is how you know this brother has changed.
Yeah.
I own 2 cows.
Yeah.
I have cows.
Yeah.
Why? What? I have cows.
Yeah.
Put money behind cows. They're doing milk. I have 2 cows. I want to make them 20.
Yeah.
I went out of town looking for leasing land. Like I want to lease land for farming. Narok is the proposed area. It's wild.
Yeah.
Put money in crypto, $1,000, not a lot, just to see it.
Yeah.
Just have visibility and care. I'm reading The Economist with intentionality and other small book. I think that's too high level. I will not lie about that. Just kind of understanding
Trading as well. You mentioned
microeconomics and
trading. There's some
macroeconomics.
trading.
Yeah, so I may not do trading
Yeah,
myself,
but
but you've seen my interest when I came to FX, and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, what do these guys do? Why
Yeah.
are they so many? What's the
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah.
Free training? Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm too busy to do it because I'm running a company now. But I've also started doing digital media content, like social media content.
Yeah.
I did a book, which I have sold, digital copy and hard copy, tested that out, looked at the market. Kenyans don't like books, fine. Like, just checking. Like, I'm now becoming so much more open and versatile. And I'm realizing I'm good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From where I sit, it sounds like you always, I mean, from a certain point in your career when you're working at Kytabu, you had the capital to do some of these things.
I had all
you
the
just
capital.
didn't.
I just didn't. Because I remember, and I want you to really always hone into this.
Yeah.
If you ever ask yourself why Tonee did what he did,
Yeah.
because Tonee's mind only knew one thread.
And it was Kytabu, and that was it.
I didn't know how
You know,
to
it's
diversify.
difficult to believe, because you... Yeah, it's
hard.
it's hard to believe.
Because I'm
but-
smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
That you just... Yeah. Okay.
Tough.
So now, I guess revenue is coming from different
Yes,
places.
so revenue is
and
not coming from different
investment.
places per se. A lot
Oh,
of
you're
it.
like, you've
we are more in
invested
the
in
investor
different
spaces,
places.
right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm very happy about is I've saved.
Yeah.
I have some money in savings.
Yeah.
So I've got 5 pools of savings.
Yeah, you've told me about the medical.
all of them.
whatever.
Yeah, medical, everything. Like
Yeah.
now, I've taken care of the people I care about, and I'm like, sour. At least, even if you're not in my immediate circle, if something happens to you, I'm not gonna panic because you matter to me, and I didn't take care of that situation. But then, for me, that is bare minimum. Like, you understand what I say? Bare minimum. Like.
Yeah, I mean,
Bare
in fact,
minimum.
and a question to that, because you're saying you're starting this at essentially 43, 44.
And a lot of people don't realize this. And this
Yeah.
is the thing. It's not about when you start.
Yeah,
It's about the clarity with which you start.
yeah,
I am ahead of... It's not about competition.
Yeah.
But I am ahead of myself.
yeah.
The other version of myself.
Yes,
And
yes,
that's all
yes.
that matters. It
Yes.
doesn't matter where other people are. Plus, to be fair, it's unfair for me to say this, but with the experience that I've built and the networks I have got and the relationships I've got,
Yeah, it won't take you
it
too
doesn't
long.
matter.
Not,
Yeah,
not,
I'm
not
already
numbered,
like
yeah.
honestly, it'll not take you know it'll not take me a long time.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of meeting Bill Gates is important, but the things that the Gates Foundation and his fund will do is way more important.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want us to see if we can break down, because I know we're sort of running out of time.
Yeah.
I want to see if we can break down, because you said
We
you
were looking at time. Are you looking
I was looking at time.
Have we
yeah.
not done this? We're here 2 hours now. How long have we been doing this?
It's an hour and a half
You
now.
see, this is a long story. Okay. Uh-huh.
So if you're to sort of try and break down your net worth, like
Right.
your net worth and your value,
Right.
and the thing that I'm trying to get at is if we can try and crystallize, like, what is this thing that allows you to create that value to be worth 2.2 billion, or to
Right.
build companies worth 2.2 billion.
Right.
Like, what goes, like, I don't know if you understand my question.
I
don't know
understand
if
your question.
You're able to give that answer to that
I
question.
think
Yeah.
articulation
Yeah.
and identification of opportunities
Yeah.
and then proving that you are best placed to take advantage of them is what makes a company valuable. Let's take Tribbe for an example. Tribbe is valued at $3.5 million, right?
Yeah.
So when we get an investor, we tell them, would you like 10% of the company? It's going to cost you $350,000.
Yeah.
So what are they investing in? Do you
Yeah.
have a team? No, we're three. Plus a lawyer and an accountant and somebody to check our money laundering and artificial intelligence stuff. So we have 5-6 people. Have you built a product? Well, it's basic.
Yeah.
We spent $10,000 to do it. So why you? Well, here's my repertoire. Here's my co-founder's repertoire, and here's my other co-founder's repertoire. These are the people who are playing the game for you. It's a baseball game, a rugby game, a soccer game. Choose. It's the people you put on the game that determine how well you score. And so they look at you and they're like, I see what you've built. I see where you've come from. I know what you're capable of. If money is the issue, we'll solve it. And so it's really a reputation issue. That's all. And I have a good reputation. It's not the best because there are some people I've screwed over, but that's okay. It's not a bad one though.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time when people come out and they look at you, they're not looking for perfection. They recognize success is a bunch of failures.
Yeah.
That are cock and memed up into something winning.
Yeah.
And he just said it straight. We love that you're trying this.
Yeah.
And we want to see what somebody with your level of creativity and experience can do in this sector.
Yeah.
Here's your check. So to make something worth a lot, identify the value, then express it clearly enough for somebody to understand the potential.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. And how do you feel like you've been able to cash out sufficiently on your value?
There's no way. There's no way.
And by cash out, I don't mean even selling the company, but to make enough money that's worth what they say you are worth.
No way.
What are the?
I think the
limitations?
parameters
Yeah.
I needed to get there mentally.
Yeah.
And it took me a while.
Yeah.
But I'm here now.
Yeah.
Let's talk in a year.
You know, we shall.
Yeah, we shall. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have this podcast.
We'll have this conversation
and then we see what's happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not because success is not about floor sets.
Yeah.
It's not about getting nonsensical things that mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
Whenever God spoke, he always said, I will bless you, your children, and your children's children.
Yeah.
It's about generational and succession guarantees.
Yeah.
It's about being sure that the grandkids I have not seen are taken care of because of the decisions I made right now.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm not trying to impress anyone.
Yeah.
I didn't come here to be like, oh, this is it's not an impressing issue.
Yeah.
It's because I recognize I'm a student of this money game.
Yeah.
And I've made way more mistakes than I should have. But that's given me way more learnings than others. Yeah. And so I'm going to leverage on those learnings.
Yeah.
And build a business that makes sense, get a life for myself and those I care about that they want to have.
Yeah.
So that whoever I end up with, if she decides she wants to stay home and, I don't know, make content for YouTube or whatever, and every month travel to a different country.
Yeah.
And see creative spaces and indulge with the Soho vibe and whatever.
Yeah.
That's not an issue.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have to say, oh, I have work.
Yeah.
No. I'd be like, just tell me the dates. I'll even do research on this. You do research on that.
Yeah.
Do you want to grab the kids or you want to just me and you? Like, that's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be no question. And the reason why I'm so sure of it is because I have always been that man.
Yeah.
Always. I just never let go of the thread.
Yeah. The one you're holding on to.
Quickly. But now I have.
So interesting. I feel like, because I'm trying to, I guess as we close, I'm trying to, like, surmise and synthesize everything that you've said in one way or another. And it almost feels to me like your pursuit of money is so interesting in that the lack of it took away, you lost so much, from the family, from what you took away from yourself,
right,
because you were not taking the money that was in your hands, but pursuing it back into this dream and this vision that you want, and you couldn't see anything else.
No.
And so it's crazy. It's like, I'm trying to understand it, and it's like it's like you could only see money for one thing, and one thing alone, at that point in time, when it could have potentially
been so much more.
Yeah, and even possibly solved some of the issues and some of the whatever that you had.
Yeah.
But it was like your focus was so.
Yeah. And that's I think if I was to summarize the story, my mirror was dirty. My windscreen was dirty.
Yeah.
I didn't see the road because the path for me should always have led back to myself.
Yeah.
It didn't. I always thought it was out there.
Yeah.
It's not out there. It's in here.
Incredible story nonetheless. And I cannot wait. Genuinely, a year from now, we book it. 1st August 2025. Let's have this conversation. See how much your net value was. Sorry, one question on the net value.
Yeah.
When you said you multiplied it, you're able to multiply
600.
6,000 or whatever it was. Is it because it hadn't been valued in a long, long time? Or what specifically happened that allowed you to?
We did two things. First, we amalgamated. So we brought together all the thing, whether it's IP or branding that Kytabu was.
Yeah.
Registered the company. The company was always registered in Kenya, but we also registered in Delaware.
Yeah.
Now, when you register a company in Delaware and you bring all these things, you can value them. You can get somebody to look at what you've built, your stories online, your reputation, and give you a value.
Yeah.
Now, when it was in Kenya, Kytabu wasn't valued very much. It was very lowly valued because, what is an edtech company in Kenya? But when you put it in the US, that means that every investor in the world can be able to say, we're coming in from anywhere in the world and we want to buy a brand and we want to ride on your brand.
Yeah.
And so, how long have you been there? What have you done? Who have you worked with? All these partners, the projects you've done, all of that comes together into a value.
Yeah.
And so this company that was $27,000, like Kytabu was valued at $3 million when it was just Kenyan only.
Yeah.
Is now almost $1 million.
Yeah.
That's $130 million.
Yeah.
Because of all the reputation.
Yeah.
We've now been sued, like all those things.
Yeah.
And then now take that and then add Tonee's expertise.
Yeah.
And he's building a new company and he's added two fantastically formidable friends. And now their company, which was not worth much when we started, it started at $350,000 at the beginning of last year, is now 10 times that.
Yeah.
So take that plus this, that's almost 500 million shillings.
Yeah, makes sense.
On paper, just company paper, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if you decide you want to cash out that paper? And you can. The fact that it has been structured correctly means you can raise money for Tribbe against that value, or you can sell Kytabu if you wanted, or you can get investors, you can get donors, whatever it is. The value is now in front of you. Yeah. So that gives you such confidence to be able to take steps with exactly the same thing that I couldn't take a year ago.
Crazy. All right. As usual, guys, this was I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. I really did.
Nice.
We'll see you guys on the next episode of Financially Correct. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, tell us who you guys want to see next. If there's any questions you have for Tonee that I didn't ask, please leave them on there. Like you said, you can find him on TikTok and Instagram, and he'll answer them. We'll forward them to him and he'll answer them there.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode.
Cheers.